Hi, this is a little bit of my book, Resonance. That's, if you're a Twitter fan, if you follow me on Twitter, it's the book that I actually use for my background wallpaper. Hope you like it. At a time before mankind was even an idea of God, the ancients were the creators of heaven, created by God for his enjoyment and company. God loved his creations as only a God could, so he endowed them with many gifts: intellect, personality, and emotion, to name but a few. But sadly, later, with the creation of the angels, jealousy was also created. The ancients rebelled, furious at their Creator for having made such beautiful creatures, and a mighty battle ensued. Talons tore angel flesh and teeth ripped wings to shreds until God, angered by this display of selfishness, cast the rebel ancients into the cosmos, removing all of their power and substance. The remaining were sent to the earth to be buzzards, vultures, and hyenas, living on carrion, and always to be reborn for eternity. All that is except for the oldest of the ancients, Lucifer. Lucifer was condemned to the planet Earth, a roiling cauldron of molten rock, and it was here for eternity he should contemplate his sins against his Maker. Lucifer, however, had many other considerations. He would wait. He was very good at waiting. He had endless time to replan his birth and revenge. Lucifer's power had grown with the passing of eons, and yet his only desire remained to be free of his exiled brethren, rule all of heaven. He hated man and other gods and stupid creatures. He corrupted as many as he could in forming his plan. He knew God was watching, as were the archangels, but he was also sure that many times, God paid man no attention, and Lucifer had no fear of anything else but God. Man was so easy a little creature to corrupt. All it took was a bit of instilling a bit of greed, lust, or anger, and the soul was his. Once Lucifer could easily slide into the dreams and thoughts, thinking the soul were of its own. Before long there was no salvation for this soul. All it could do was serve him. And it was with these souls and the ones that clung to them that Lucifer cemented his ideas of freeing the ancients and restoring their heavenly powers. And now it was only time that became his enemy. He watched with eager desire as blood dripped from the torn bodies of the innocents and seeped into the bloodstones. Lucifer, in his rapture, was unaware that their souls had also entered the stones. That's just the preamble. Chanting filled the night as the robed figures moved in procession to the stones. Calls to Bab Katha reached into the night and sailed moonward. Tonight was the night of sacrifice of the Raven of Battle. She had protected the cult once again and deserved her blood reward. As if on cue, screams permeated the cool night air as the group entered the circle of blue stones. Unde Sanar Bab Kathar, Relaxeo Iorine, they chanted over and over. As the chanting continued, pipes and drums began to play, and robes began to fall off the shoulders of the worshippers. Louder the music played, and louder the chanting came until it reached a crescendo of madness. Bound to one of the stones were 3 children, all prepubescent. The goddess would want only pure blood for her sacrifice, and that meant virginal boys and girls. The children were watching wide-eyed as the group surrounded them, naked and sweating. Foul to you, they screamed, and fell upon their captives, and began the ritual of ripping them with tooth and nail, until the small bodies left all semblance of being human. Animal grunts and moans of sexual release now took place of screams of agony and pain. They made the goddess very happy, and assured themselves in blood-soaked mud. As the moon hid its zenith, covered in the stench of sweat, blood, and bowels, the worshippers began fornicating more. Man on man, woman and man, it didn't matter, for they knew they would be under her watchful eyes, and for a while the eyes of the gods Cernunnos, Ceridwen, Danu, and Erne would watch over and protect them. Note here, I did a lot of research on this book as far as the Celts and the Scottish gods and goddesses. So everything that I've written down here has come from there. I've taken some liberties, of course, as an author and a writer, so bear with me. The stones were huge, and the leader knew no way to move them where they wanted them to be. They would have to be made smaller, small enough to move that if that was even possible. Saying a few terse words to the others, they began hitting the monoliths with stone clubs. Bits and pieces of bluestone flew off, and sometimes even a spark was seen. This group never stopped. They just kept hitting the stones, breaking them smaller and smaller. A cold wind had risen behind them and rain began to fall. A strange howling filled the air, and the group looked to their leader for an explanation. "Owl," he signed to them. But the eyes of his group looked doubtful, and even he was skeptical of his answer. The lightning came, almost on cue, and hit the larger of the stones they were working on. It glowed an eerie blue light for a few seconds, and then exploded, almost perfectly in half. This would certainly make them easier to move now, but they would still need to build the carts to do this. That's all for now. I hope that you kind of enjoyed what I have read. I'll try to read a little bit more some other time. I don't like to read my entire book or whatever. Oops.